Well, hello friends, and welcome back to the cabin. I've got to show you something else that's new that was done what was it, about 2 weeks ago now. Check this out. That's what Jennifer had done for me while I was working on her house down there, and not only that, but she also had this done. And then we've got one on the back as well. So that's really nice to have that in place now, because if you stop and think about it, I am halfway almost to the rain catchment system. I just have to purchase one of those great big huge barrels, and of course I may have to save several months for one of those because they're quite expensive. They're almost $1 a gallon, and I think that for our needs up here, I'm thinking that maybe 1,500 gallons would work, because you got to remember I'm only using it for washing the shower and the sink. We're not flushing any water down into a septic system. I will have to put in a gray water system, but we're going to have a composting toilet in the cabin in the bathroom. But what's next on the agenda here at the homestead? While my son was here, we were able to get this completed right here, which is a little bit tricky to do, especially when you get that far up. We also managed to get this big wall back here that is very difficult to do, especially if you have a fear of being on a ladder. So since we've got the gutters up there now and we don't have to do that job, this scaffolding can be removed, because I need to finish out these little short walls right here that are only about 8 foot wide, and we're only going up about 10 feet, so that should be able to cover that real quick. We do have to mill up the lumber because I don't have it milled yet. I do have that much left over, which is probably enough to cover this end section up here on each side, left over at the sawmill area. So we're almost done covering this workshop down here, and then the next big project would actually be working on the flooring. Because I still have to put in, look over that mess, but I still have to put in a floor joist across through here, because the floor will actually be up at this level up here. And then we still have to do this area here and the upstairs as well. But my major goal was to get the siding on so that rain wouldn't blow in and start, possibly getting in the cracks of the timber frame structure itself and starting rot up in those locations. I do have exposed joints, but if you weatherproof those, I'm not worried about them too much. I didn't want to have to go and weatherproof the whole inside. All I needed to do was cover the outside, right? So we've got that we're going to be working on. So once I get that covered, I'm going to switch gears and we're going to start working on a storm shelter up here. I'm still not quite sure exactly how I'm going to build it, but when we get done, it should be strong enough, we're hoping, to withstand any of the weather that we might get up here, and be a safe place that we can go to in the event that we have high winds and just, severe storm with hail and things of that nature. So my son and I, we got to talking. We could relocate these raised bed gardens down there behind the solar panels where I did the hugelkultur, because all of that dirt just got pushed to the edge of the woods so that I could get the electricity going up here. We got to thinking that if we did do that, I could scoop as much of the topsoil out of here that I could get, transport that down there, and have quite a bit of good topsoil, and dig another hole right here, like where I was going to put the root cellar / storm shelter, and we could put it right here and kind of build it the same, build something overhead of it, cover it with dirt, just have maybe front access to where we could get into where the plumbing might be. That way it would be protected from any trees that might come down on it, if we had a big storm. So that is an idea that we're kind of entertaining. I know in the last video you got to see all the lights. So this is the one that's mounted, of course, in the outhouse out here. And friends, it stays on all night long, and then it goes off in the morning time. So if you happen to wander outside, now one thing I think that I may do is put one of these on the outside that will shine out here towards the bridge, because once you walk in there, you're all lit up. Of course, you can shut the door, right? But it's quite nice to have these lights, And I'll tell you, if it's like the other one that I bought about 5 years ago, I paid $90 for it. That's that big one up there on the pole. And it worked for about 3 years, and then the way that I had it mounted on this other pole, it actually broke off, fell and hit the ground. It broke on that pole right there, and then laid on the front porch of the cabin for about a year because I've just been so busy, never did put it back up. But then I had to start carrying a flashlight when I would come out to the truck, so I thought, you know what, we're going to put that thing back up, because every day it would, or every night it would come on after being charged up what sunlight it could get, and it would burn all night long. So we've got it back up there, it's working, and I think a few more lights around here and it will be really nice. We did have somebody comment, can you still see the stars? And I said, sure we can, we're very close to them. No, the nice thing about the lights is that they stay on low. Try to get some video at night with them on so that if you've never seen them, you can. But it's quite nice to have very low light, but be able to see in case, you know, you got any critters sneaking around outside. So we've got one pine board left here, which is 2 inches. And my friend that helped Jennifer get a discount on her flooring, I told him that I was going to cut that up into a 2x10, and he wanted to know if he could have it. He wants it for a mantelpiece to go in his new house. So I told him that he was more than welcome to come out here and get it. And then we've got another big knotty log on the sawmill to start cutting up for some siding. It works okay for siding because when you have a lot of knots like that in a board, it can weaken it somewhat. But if it's screwed in really well as far as siding goes, then I don't worry too much about it, because it's not really supporting anything. It's just keeping things from, you know, weather blowing in. So I don't mind using that as siding material on a building. So I'm not sure if you've noticed or not, but I've got these two things right here kind of halfway dug into the ground. And what I've been trying to do is when I come through here, I will drop the log onto this. Based on the way that the driveway is underneath the rear tires, it causes it to be like this. So you can't actually set the log down without this side being cocked up maybe 8 or 10 inches. So instead of just opening the grapple and dropping it because you can't lower it anymore, it's already touching on this side. Once I set it down here, I can let loose, reposition the grapple, and so it's already cocked sideways. Then I can roll forward and set it down, and it is almost level. So that's an extra little step that I've got to take, but when I pick it up somewhere that's level, once I get over here, I can't set it down because I am, like I said, unlevel, so I have to reposition the grapple. So that seems to be helping out, or I can continue to use my straps. Either way works. Now, for quite some time, you guys have seen this sawmill operate, and I'm going to give you my honest review and opinion of it. This sawmill right here runs right at $25,000. It is a very nice sawmill. It's got a lot of automatic, I should say automated features to it, which are really nice benefit actually. It's got the debarker, we've got the blade guide arm, of course it's electric in and out. That's really nice to have. We've got the hydraulic blade tensioning over on the other side. It's got a computer set work, which is this up here, which is, they call that the simple set, but you can pre-adjust the thicknesses of the boards that you would like with this part right here. Here's your forward and reverse. This operates the debarker, this turns it on. Of course, this is electronic ignition. This is your roller blade guide arm, and then this is the actuator for how fast you're going. And then over here is the up and down. So that's something that we didn't have on the last mill, which is quite nice to have. And the fact that it's got a much stronger engine on it. The other one was a 16 horse. This is actually a 23 horse Kohler. We did want the small diesel, but it was going to cost us about $5,000 compared to about $1,500. And I didn't want to just raise the cost any more than, you know, and it's not like that I'm cutting wood here for a living. So for what I do, I think that this gasoline engine is going to do just as well for us. And so far I haven't actually lacked on any horsepower on any of the material that I've been cutting. Of course, you know, most of the material up here is a softer wood, so I haven't tried my hand at any hardwoods like oak or anything. We did cut up some hickory. I do have one oak log down there, a white oak, that was given to me about 3 years ago, so I probably need to get it up here and saw it up. That way we can actually stack it and let it start drying. So what's my opinion of this beast? Is it worth the money? Well, I can tell you this, from using a manual sawmill that we paid, I think it was $6,500 for. The upgrades are really nice to have, although I did do a lot of milling, pretty much built this whole homestead with that other sawmill. But I will tell you this, if I had it to do all over again, I would have invested the money where I could have had this one right here, because I can mill up to about 3 feet wide, which is 36 inches, and I can mill up to about 36 inches high. Of course, I don't think that my tractor could actually get a log that size up here on the mill, but if I could get it up here, I think that I could cut it. Now, one of the other things is this track is made a whole lot different. This railing system that we have on this Wood-Mizer is all welded and rolled steel. That makes it a whole lot stronger. And then the foundation that we put on here, because we did a double 6x6 only because the feet are offset, and then I screwed them all together and bolted them down to the concrete foundation, that actually added a whole lot of support itself. So this track now is like one unit with all of the wood and the metal bonded together. So if you're new to this channel, this is the double 6x6 plate, because if you notice the feet, this one's offset compared to that other one that's up there. This one also has a much handier place to fill it up with fuel. Another nice feature is to have a drain plug like this that actually hangs over the edge of the plate that the engine mounts on, because on the other one I just had to drain it up and it ran off on the plate. So is it worth the money? Absolutely, because I had heard my good friend Nathan from Out of the Woods say, if you have made the decision to buy a sawmill or are thinking about buying a sawmill, decide on the one you want and buy the next size larger. And he was correct, because not only does it have all those bells and whistles, which makes it more enjoyable to operate, but it's also got this heavy-duty track on it. One of the other things that I'm going to do is I'm going to join a beam from here coming across to this front beam, as well as over there on that post over to the beam again. Then we're going to put one across on top, kind of like an I-beam, and we're going to put an electric winch in there. That way I can bring the cable down, wind it underneath the log, tap it in with the hook, and when I lift up on the electric winch, it will rotate the log for me. Not sure if I'm going to have a control switch on a cord or if I'm going to mount one right here, because I'm standing right next to the log, but that will be really nice to have. That way I won't have to try to rotate them with these cant hooks. So by adding this little screw jack right here, which gives me the ability to center the pith from one side to the other, because I think I can raise that front end up about a total of 6 inches. That way it gives me a lot of travel to be able to level the log out. Makes this mill really nice to work with. Like I said, all the features and the extra width and the bulk that I can cut, I think that it makes it well worth the money to spend that extra and have, you know, something that you can actually do a whole lot more with and still not have that much money tied up in it. So if I was looking to purchase one, I would definitely check out Wood-Mizer Friends, because I am totally impressed with their quality. Anyway, we want to thank you so much for stopping by. We certainly do appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you back up here at the cabin again next time.